Okay. Call to order this meeting of the Village of Ashcroft Council for Monday, May 11th, 2026. Mayor and Council wish to acknowledge that we are meeting today in the traditional territory of the Inkakapa people. Are there any additions to or deletions from the agenda?
No.
Okay, thank you. We have the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting held on Monday, April 27th. Councillor Anstead.
Make a motion that the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting held Monday, April 27, 2026 be adopted as presented.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Clement. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. We have the minutes of the regular meeting of Council held Monday, April 27th. Councillor Davenport.
The minutes of the regular meeting of council held on Monday, April 27th, 2026 be adopted as presented.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Tedford. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Any? That's carried. No delegations this evening. We move on to public input. There are no members of the public in the gallery. Lee, are there any questions online? No? All right, thank you very much. Section 5.1, 5-year financial plan bylaw number 884-2026 to adopt the 5-year financial plan. Councillor Clement.
I'll move that the 5-year financial plan bylaw number 884-2026 be adopted as presented.
Thank you. Second by Councillor Tedford. Any discussion? Questions, comments? Thank you once again, CFO Bella, for your work on this. I realize that trying to do a 5-year financial plan is rather like reading tea leaves or ripping the entrails out of chickens or something, but thank you very much. Thank you for that very vivid image. All right. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. 5.2, the tax rate bylaw. I have a recommendation. Councillor Anstead.
Move that the tax rate bylaw number 85, 2026 be adopted as presented.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Davenport. Any discussion on this item? Okay, thank you, CFO Bala and the team, for keeping the tax rate increase to 3.5% for the village. All right. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 5.3, CAO report, local government elections and other voting procedures draft bylaw. This is up for first, second, and third readings. Councillor Clement.
I'll move that council give first, second, and third reading to the Village of Ashcroft local government elections and other voting procedures bylaw 886-2026.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Anstead. Any discussion? Councillor Clement.
I just have a question about the clarity of the sentence because it doesn't make sense to me because I think there's something missing from it. It is on page 68 of the actual document, page 17 of the bylaw, but
Yes.
it says page 64.
Number
on the bottom
11,
of the
following a
document.
presentation by a delegation.
Yes.
Yes, I have a
I
suggested.
feel like
Yes.
it's not a sentence. I was reading it on my phone and I'm not sure what the answer is, but it's missing.
I've drafted a proposed change, and the proposed change is following a presentation by a delegation and prior to the delegation being dismissed, the presiding member may, at their discretion, provide members of the public in attendance, including those participating electronically, with an opportunity to ask questions of the delegation.
Thank you. There we go. I was like,
Okay.
there's
Perfect.
something missing. I don't know
And it's
where it
all typed
belongs.
up.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Because I don't write that fast.
She just
Did you get it?
she only added 2
I said
words.
following
And I spoke
the
slowly.
delegation.
I spoke slowly.
She only added 2 words.
I typed it up.
Thank you. Okay, good. I'm glad I wasn't the only one
No,
that was like,
it was.
this doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Suggested changes?
No.
No? Councillor Clement?
So, Councillor Tedford, this was your motion. I just want to make sure that what we've changed is what your intention was.
Absolutely, clarity, I had it here as well, I just don't like to, thank you. No, it's great. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
No.
All right then, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? That is carried. Thank you, CAO Dick, for all your work on hauling all this stuff together from all sorts of different places and
Bylaws, amendments.
combining them. 5.4, CAO report, Village of Ashcroft fees and charges, bylaw number 887, up for first, second, and third readings. Councillor Ensted?
Move that council give first, second, and third readings to the Village of Ashcroft fees and charges bylaw number 887, 2026.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Clement. Discussion. Here's where that $36,000.
It was actually 36.000.
Yes, but
Yeah, it is.
it could be turned into a comma very easily.
That's so
So, Councillor Tedford?
Yeah, this is the section where I had a question about routinely and released information. Is that access to information?
Routinely, yeah, well, yes and no. It's information that we would normally release over time that somebody's asking for earlier. And if they're asking for staff to pull all that together, that's what we charge them for. If it's something, if it hasn't reached that timeline for us to release it.
Does it also include then access to information requests?
Like for that freedom of information request? Yeah, no, we can't charge for those. There's very few times that we can actually charge for a freedom of information request.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Just clarification on the non-resident users for the ICE users. Those are non-resident users who are playing on a team. That is not just people who are coming from Cache Creek or Clinton to skate.
That's right.
Correct.
Yeah, just like they're about to skate.
Do we need to clarify that? Because right now, it just says ICE users who do not physically reside within the boundaries of the Village of Ashcroft. But it doesn't say what they're using the ice for.
We could clarify it. It's been written like that for years.
Yeah,
And I think it's only ever applied to the minor hockey and adult hockey fees.
Yeah.
But we could absolutely include that.
Councilor Jeffrey?
In my 14 years of being in there, it never really came up, except to be a point of contention with some of the people from out of town. It was always the understanding that it wasn't necessarily on a team, it was within a league. So ladies skate out of town, paid the fee, ladies skate in town didn't. But it was always understood that it was not a public skating event, a drop-in hockey event, a sticks and pucks event, that type of thing. That was from wherever the other parties came from. So yeah, we can clarify it, but it's never been a point of contention, other than the fact that there is a fee. Thank you.
Maybe just throw in what it applies to. Because I know what it is, but it just always makes me kind of go, oh yeah, what's this again, right? Councilor Clement?
And is that a standard operating practice for municipalities to charge an extra fee?
Yeah, the reason being is they're not contributing to taxes, so it's our locals that are paying for them.
Some municipalities like Merritt are really starting to eye how they can recover more costs for their sports and recreation facilities for out-of-town users. And problematic is the word, because you can start asking for people's driver's license or proof of where they live before when they come in the door of the Merritt Pool Complex.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. And 5.5, CAO report, council procedure bylaw number 888. Councilor Davenport?
Move the council give the first, second, and third reading to the Village of Ashcroft Council Procedures Bylaw number 888, 2026.
Thank you, seconded by Councilor Hanson, thank you. Questions or comments on this one? Questions or comments? Nothing? Thank you again, CAO. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. Staff reports, request for decision, we have none. Request for here for information, CAO report available.
Thank you, Your Worship. I ran out of time to write because I wrote all those bylaws.
Yes, I was gonna say, where did you find time to write this?
I didn't. It's like to the scratch. Okay, so, just a couple of brief updates. First off is the annual community barbecue. In speaking with pool staff and office staff, one of the dates that seems to work for us, that it also fits within the Boston Richmond Center's timeline, is potentially August 22nd. So we wanted to see if that was a date that worked for council. If not, we'll bring it back to the drawing board and look at a different date, or if we could propose another date this evening.
August
For
27th sounds fine.
Yeah. Does that work for you?
Fine with me.
Councilor?
7 or 22nd?
22nd, sorry. 22nd to 2.
I mean, I know we've had the discussion about the hot weather, but it's,
We thought about, as a staff, and I think a couple of council members I spoke with about, potentially moving it up to the Mesa Park. Parking is a bit of a concern, and having a grand opening up there, but parking is a concern, and then we're removed, and the kids always look forward to the pool.
The pool,
the
yeah.
free use of the pool for
Yeah.
those hours, and so.
Yeah.
We also talked about doing it earlier, and then go with us wanting to partner with the backpack program. It'd be challenging for us to do it in early July, because they likely haven't got all of their stuff put
Yeah.
together for that, so towards the end of August seems like the best idea.
sounds good.
So that works for?
I might be available, the plans for that weekend might change, I'm not sure, so, but yeah, feel free to.
Whoever's there.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And then I received this week the UBCM book and meeting, just the information for meeting requests for UBCM. And last year, we didn't have any meetings with ministers, so I thought I'd just put it out there as food for thought for now. I will share out, I'll email you out the book itself that I have. I don't want to print it, it's too big. But it just gives you an idea. You can read through it and see what each minister or ministry covers. It might spark an idea for something that you might like to talk about. And if we could just start maybe thinking over the next couple of weeks or 3 weeks or so about what minister or ministry staff you might like to meet and what the discussions that you'd like to have. And we can put those recommendation requests for meetings in.
Just a note, apparently there will be no staff meetings at UBCM this year. Staff are not traveling.
Okay.
It's going to be minister meetings only. So with the lack of staff meetings, those ministry meetings are likely to be very oversubscribed. And I've heard every single time I've met with anyone recently from Victoria, there is no money. So anything that we ask for, the more creative we can be in thinking outside the box and asking for something that isn't necessarily going to cost Victoria money, is more likely to meet with success or favor than going in and saying we need $3 million for a new reservoir. Not that we shouldn't ask, but there is no money. They have made that abundantly clear, which is why they're not sending any staff to bed. So
Alright.
one thing, for example, thinking outside the box is how can we facilitate working with the TNRD out with their Parks and Trails Master Plan. How can we facilitate getting official status for the Mason and Nookshire trails? It fits in nicely with the TNRD, two local governments working together. If we can get First Nations in there too. We're not asking for money, the trail's already there. We just want to know how we can get it officially designated so that now we're not afraid to promote.
Get that section 56 and section 57 so we can have it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
That's just, I'm not saying we should do that or we will, it's just, that's a thought, that it's thinking outside the box, it's not asking for any money.
And deadline is June 24th, so maybe we'll talk about it the first meeting in June. That gives us next meeting, unless you come up with a whole bunch of ideas for next meeting, then I can put the proposals together and submit them right away. Okay. Emergency response preparedness is something that's been on my mind a lot, and I know it's been on yours, just with Environment Canada telling us it's going to be a hot year. We've experienced very, very dry winter, very dry spring. We're hopeful for some May and June rains. But on that note, we did have an opportunity to send two of the office staff to JIBC EOC training in Lillooet. So they, Gwen and Courtney, have both completed their essentials, EOC essentials course which is the prerequisite for any of the other courses, and there was one that coming up that's been postponed at Cooksbury that they were going to be participating in. So just continuing to train staff so that if we ever do have to deploy our EOC, it's just building on that strength and those skills. And with the girls having been gone, we were discussing just doing a quick tabletop one afternoon here in the next week or so, week to 2 weeks, and just get a little bit of additional refresher training, and it reminds us that we need to get those computers booted up, make sure everything's operational.
And just on that note quickly, the May 1st snow survey bulletin noted that while the province is at 83% of snowpack, the Liard region is at 380%, so that's skewing it quite strongly that way. The Lower Thompson, which is Lytton, us, Cache Creek, Clinton, Merritt, is at 0% right now. So basically, according to the snow survey, I know you can see little traces of Cornwall, but we have no snow. And it's only May 11th.
In addition to ongoing with preparing, is our fire hydrants haven't been flushed and serviced for a while, and our public works just has. They've been so busy they haven't had an opportunity. So we did bring in. We had a meeting with the union to make sure they were okay, and we brought in a contractor to do that, and that is well underway, if not complete. Probably not quite completed yet, but I think our contractor was here all last week flushing those lines and doing speed services and some other repairs. If it was a major repair, then our public works was taking care of it. So that's ongoing, and so if we do need to use those hydrants, we can be 100% certain that they're good to go. They're all operational. Another discussion that we've been having is about the old tender. We've talked about, putting it up for sale and selling it. We've had lots of interest from TNRD, from communities south of us. I think for this year, it was kind of suggested that perhaps we consider keeping it and just getting it stocked up and equipped with hose, so that if we do need it, then there's a vehicle, a secondary tender that Public Works will be up in the Public Works here that they could draw on if need be, or fire department could come pull. To put 3 months of insurance on it, on our fleet insurance, isn't a lot of money. So it's just one more safety bit that we've got in place. And Yogi said there was room in the budget for that. And it is a good plan. And just a little bit about the fire above Ashcroft Terminal, in between there and IG Fibers, that as quickly as it started, it was under control and put out. So it was a really good little training exercise for BC Wildfire Service. They were happy that Bird Dog was there. They were able to bring it in and put that retardant down. I think in your agenda, there's a little collage of some good pictures of the exercise, and I think that BC Wildfire turned it into a training exercise, and they were able to have that under control and put out. Our fire department was there, and they didn't. A couple of them were quite keen to start climbing the hill, but I said, no, let's just hold back and let BC Wildfire do their thing. They stayed overnight to make sure that all the hot spots were out. And then last but not least, our Mesa Park upgrade is moving along way ahead of schedule. We're really excited about that. It's not open for the kids to play on yet, but it is. All of the playground equipment is installed. The one swing, the wrong size of chain was sent in the packaging, so we're waiting for the appropriate chain to come so we can hang the big tire swing or whatever. It's not a tire swing, but it's the intent. It's one of those disc swings. And the pour in place should be coming in, I think, in the next week to 10 days. And then we just got to get our water lines and irrigation and sod put back down and benches and trees, and it'll just be a wonderful little place for the community to enjoy. If you're looking at grandson, will have to come back. Well, that's right. Yes, he will. Yes. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All right, thank you very much. We have an information report on the water meter project. We have an update. Thank you for the report.
Welcome, Your Worship. Proceeding along, a lot of the numbers you saw in that pie chart is due to things moving to pit meters. So a lot of the cancelled and utility tasks are actually moving to pit meters. So initially, when we had pipeline lots of pit meters, then after discussion, we halved that number. Looks like it's going back to the original number. It's just the reality. We've got galvanized pipes. There are old homes which have all kinds of stuff done. Access is difficult, or they'll have to break a lot of things to get in there. So those cases are going to pit meters. As of last look, which is this afternoon, I was working on the list sent by these guys to me. We have about 75 people who haven't responded, and we're going door to door, talking to them, Brian and I, to convince them to. So that part is a little slower than I had hoped for, but just to reiterate, if we do end up putting a pit meter because we have refused access, the cost will be charged to you. And so I'm hoping not to get to that point and have people convinced to move forward, but I think it will take a bit longer. The project is divided into different phases. First, we are targeting residential, and we'll start looking at pit meters, and then institutional large pipes, and getting that worked out. So it's a very involved project, and all the projects I've done, a lot of talking to people and a lot of interactions, which thank you for Brian and the crew for stepping up and fixing. It's like a rabbit hole, right? You do one thing, you find something else. So fixing curb stops, doing, finding different things. So yeah, so it's proceeding along. Hoping the last set of people respond.
What is a utility task?
So a lot of times those were tasks initially sent to Brian's team to look at curb stop work, or something else was off. So those were tasks. But a lot of them ended up in pit meter. So at the next, this was off the system. As the next data comes in, it will show better what is what. But yeah, those were tasks assigned to back and forth to try and figure out what's going on in certain places.
Any questions or comments? Nope. Thank you. All right, and Wildfire Resiliency Summit 2026 report for information. Extremely interesting report. Got a lot out of it. I was very interested by your comment about talking about our desert landscape and how that doesn't get covered a lot. And it was something that I had never really thought about, but as soon as I read it, I thought, yeah, she's right. They don't talk about our landscape at all. The others were really. Do you have any? Well, we can ask questions because Gwen's not here, but any comments? Good to see her at the farmer's market yesterday. Yeah. All right, move on to correspondence. Action correspondence. YMCA Child Care Resource and Referral Request for support or participation. This looks like it's on the same day as the Ashcroft Indian Band day, but I don't know how much crossover there'd be. And it also does not give a time on here.
Yeah, she was, I mean, she doesn't have a whole lot of information. I asked her for a bunch of details as well, because I said, even what exactly are you looking for? What kind of support are you looking for from the municipality, like, freezies or park use, or bodies to help do whatever. So, and she's wide open. She's, oh, if you'd like to give us a poll pass or this or that, so it's really at council's whim.
I think we need to maybe direct staff to be in contact with her and say, well, what specific, we need a specific ask, rather than just trying to guess. Can you give us like a time? What's going to be like a little bit more about
more information?
Would you like the mayor to come and read a story?
I'll come and read a story.
Yeah, we did offer that. That would be lovely.
I know
we gave her all kinds of. We asked that. What are you looking for, like council to come and read, or or,
I'll come and read I Am a Bunny by Richard Scarry. I've been reading that a lot.
Okay.
It's very sweet. I had the first edition. Yours is much newer.
and then we could, you know, sponsor their snack, juice box and a cookie, or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. I think just we need a bit more information and we need time, Steph, especially since it
Time,
is
for sure.
coinciding with
Yeah.
another event that
Yeah.
council is kind of semi-expected to be at, so. So we need a motion for that? And then AIB, invitation to join Indigenous Day celebrations. That's up to individual council members to decide when, if they're going to drop by. There's usually nothing required of us except to show up and eat barbecue, so. Any other questions or comments on anything here? All right, unfinished old business. We have the task manager. Anyone have any comments on the task manager? Nope. Thank you very much, COD. Dawson Road Maintenance, Carolyn Slade, follow-up from April council meeting. Very prompt follow-up, nice to see the information there. It'll be interesting to see what happens on the bridge. And you did contact about the sign, didn't you? There had been queries and some consternation about that sign that's been installed on Highway 97C over by Bradford Farms. Kellington's Place saying, slow down, speed limit 50, construction. Next sign, 41 kilometers at Highland Valley. Okay, well, a lot of people apparently aren't seeing that part. They're just, it's not a bad idea to slow down to 50 through the bluffs, let's be honest here. But it is confusing some people, and so we have asked if why they put it there.
Right.
Maybe put it on the other side of, like, up by the public works yard or something, so the people who have passed through Ashcroft now, they are presumably gonna be heading out that way.
I've not heard back, but email's been sent.
Councillor Tedford.
In her follow-up, she noted that they weren't gonna be replacing that piece of aluminum railing at this point because they were waiting for further instruction from whomever is looking at the reconstruction or potential reconstruction of that end of the bridge. But it is an exposed abutment that potentially is a hazard. Hook a bicycle, handlebar on it when you're going by, or that type of thing. Hook a bag on it going by, hook a bag on it while you're riding by on your bicycle. It's still exposed, even though it's a fair way from the crosswalk. It actually maybe potentially makes it worse because you're up to speed on your bicycle when you hook the bag. But they put that repair on hold until the other repairs are figured out. I understand there's some cost in the custom making of that piece, but it still seems to be a little forgotten safety step between now and the resolution of the issues at that end of the bridge.
Could we just request that they maybe make it safe instead of having it be just a ripped off piece
Exposed,
of
yeah.
metal?
To
Like pushing it, cutting it maybe to the next brace.
shortening it until the next one,
Yeah.
forcing it down into the face of the
Yeah.
concrete, cutting the end off on an angle I thought about, but if that's not done quite right, then it becomes even
Worse, yeah.
a
But
potential
cutting it so
war
it's
source.
flush and
If they took it back to the next, that might
just
be.
requesting it be made safe.
Yeah. Just an interim repair to mitigate until
Yeah.
such time as they decide what they're doing with it.
I did think about what you suggested as well, Councillor Clement. I don't know how much of it they've manufactured to carry on from where it is now damaged. So there may be a whole section there that ends up being removed that needs to be there for the repair. So I think it's just a matter of discussion about what they've done and how long this is gonna take. But there's no doubt that is a dangerous end to that railing.
Thank you. Any other comments on Dawson Road maintenance? And TNRD Council Presentation, Regional Search and Rescue. Approval process. So that is scheduled for an upcoming meeting. The date off the top of the head.
That's the 20th.
Next one. All right. New business. Do you have any new business? All right. Reports, recommendations from committees of the whole, and commissions. None. Verbal report, Silga, thought it went very well. Revelstoke was an awesome host city. Fireside chat with CEO Carolyn LaChapelle of the Revelstoke Chamber of Commerce went very well. She, as a lead into the Women in Leadership panel, which I chaired, one of the interesting things she said was, and it's something I try to do, men are better at doing this than women are, which is not only just be confident in yourself, but don't hesitate to say when you're good at something. Don't dish yourself down. You know, and I give the example that I'm very good when it comes to writing about history. And if that comes across as sounding like I'm boasting when I say it, well then that's someone else's problem, not mine to deal with, because I'm simply saying I'm good at writing about history. So that was a really good, and that's good advice for anyone, is don't do yourself down. Then the Women in Leadership panel, the 4 women I was with, I thought were very good. They had some really good ideas, some really, you know, one talked about how, you know, she basically had to be talked into running for council because she didn't think it was her place, or it wasn't a place for her, you know, and about mentoring other women. So I think it went very well. Some really good sessions. Hearing about the $11 million park in Kelowna, I was just like, oh, it must be nice. And I think at the end of the day, it shows us that even though they're spending $11 million on a park, which is much more than we are, we're all facing the same problems with aging infrastructure, with lack of facilities, lack of amenities, communities that are growing or that are underserviced in one area. And it doesn't matter if you're Kelowna, or if you're Ashcroft. It's the economy of scale changes, the problems don't. And as I said earlier, what's coming through from the province loud and clear is that there is no money. We are in dire financial situation provincially, and I think successful councils are not only going to be the ones that tighten their belts, but the ones that are able to get really creative and think outside the box. Because if you don't have the money, you still want to do things. Okay, how do you get it done? No, oh, and I also went to Victoria. I went to Victoria for Regional District Chair and CAO conference, and then I was there last week for advocacy to the TNRD. And even though I'm there on the TNRD's dime, representing the TNRD, I also never hesitate to tell people I'm from Ashcroft, and I bring in Ashcroft examples of things because, again, invasive plants. We talked about that from the TNRD level, but it also impacts us here in Ashcroft because we were talking about the need to make sure that mitigation steps like fire guards are dealt with as soon as possible after a fire, because the invasive plants love that disturbed soil. I just love it. So we have to get better at dealing with that, and that's something that affects all of us. So, yeah. Councillor Edston.
Yeah, I'd like to echo the mayor's words there. Revelstoke was a beautiful little town. I've never had the opportunity to go there before. Been through there lots, but to stay in town, it was nice. It's nice layout of the community and that. And they got quite a few. Their downtown is very unique in that. Like they've got a lot of old buildings down there.
Oh, that's a beautiful heritage homes.
I think my key takeaways from the weekend were I had the opportunity to listen to several of the keynote speakers that week. A highlight for me was listening to George Abbott speaking on his book Unseated. It was a very good presentation he gave there. Another keynote speaker I took in was Jatan Da Silva on the global trade relations, and that she was a very well-spoken speaker on relationships between Canada and the US and stuff like that. So it was a very good topic she brought into the sessions and that. I had the opportunity to partake in resolution sessions. And then finally on the last day, I had the opportunity to take in a viewing of BC is Burning by Murray Wilson. which was a great documentary that he, yeah, he did a great job in that. And it just brought to light that things aren't getting better in the wildfire front, and that it's just gonna be, it's a continuing, and you can see it from the ground up in the work that he does. If anybody has the opportunity to view the documentary BC is Burning, I definitely recommend it 100%. And at the end of the weekend, it was a great weekend. Revelstoke, the weather was beautiful, and it was a great time. It was good to interact with all of our colleagues in that, and get to mingle with everybody in that, and learn what other people are doing in their communities as well.
Thank you. Councillor Clement.
I have nothing.
Councillor Davenport.
Yeah, happy that you all went to Scylla. Unfortunately, I did not. It's great to have Councillor Tedford go for his first time. And I'm giving some feedback, responding to some feedback as a part of my report on social media from the members of our community regarding the village's roadside and sidewalk spraying notices and the glyphosate and the Roundup within the village. This issue is identified under the Community Planning and Natural Built Environment Working Group, our Goal 5, as something council wished to review, including possible alternatives. However, the last working meeting was in August of 2024, and we've had some delays on having more meetings with that group. Given that we are now in the spring season and nearing the end of this council term, I'd like to request that staff bring back a report outlining current use, possible alternatives, phase reduction options, and operational considerations, so council can have a broader discussion moving forward. In addition, I'd like to say I'm interested in this community issue and was hoping to perhaps have a change in the working group council rep to be a part of these discussions. And I ran on this environment community issue, and it was on my platform, and I would like to be able to be part of these discussions. So I'm not sure if that is a motion that needs to be made, or a council can discuss it at a later time. So,
Okay. Is there a meeting of that committee or working group scheduled, or could one be called? Because I think that properly this request would either need to be a notice of motion, because it is going to involve staff time, because directing staff to do a report needs to be something that all council considers, because it is going to take staff time and money. So notices of motion are designed for that. The other way to do it would be to have it discussed at the working group or committee and have a recommendation come from the working group or committee to council as a whole. Because then that would give the working group a chance to go over what was discussed before. If one of the people, and I believe it's myself and Councillor Anstead on that, so one of us could swap out with you, then you'd be able to have a seat at that table. Produce a recommendation that comes before all of council.
yeah, that's what I was hoping for.
See, Dick, do you have a preference for either way?
No, I think the working group would probably be a quicker solution to have that conversation as opposed to notice of motion, but notice of motion would have to be brought to the next council meeting, and then the meeting could be scheduled after that, so it's whatever council decides.
Well, the notice of motion would be, well, I guess we could, I suppose, consider this the first notice of motion. But I think maybe having a working group meeting, and then Councillor Davenport would be able to get up to speed on what was discussed last time, and then the working group would hash out a suggestion. So, Councillor Anstead, did you still want to be on that working group?
Yeah, my agenda for committees is pretty small, so I'd like to
Okay.
be able to stay on to that.
Then I'm happy to swap out and take my spot on that committee for working group, sorry. And then schedule a meeting, and then you'll also hear back in due course. Is that agreeable to you, Councillor Davenport?
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
And Councillor Tedford?
Gentle advisement from CEO Tech. This being my first report post my first convention, I was asked to try and keep it relatively brief or simple. So I would like, with your grace, to split it into 2 reports, one for the first 2 days today and the next one at the next meeting.
Okay.
So, thank you. SOGA was Wednesday afternoon until Saturday afternoon of last week. Wednesday afternoon was a two-part seminar moderated by our worship, Reverend Roden, and contributed to by a written submission by our CAO, which was not expected, and it really did bring Ashcroft to. There were a lot of people in attendance, despite the light that you were having trouble seeing through, and it did open the doors to the name Ashcroft right off the top. The panel presentation was fantastic. The most interesting statistic out of that for me was the lack of parity in male and female contribution to the council levels. 37% of councilors are women, only 22% are mayors, and only 16 communities have parity between the two. Thursday morning was an interesting presentation by the Jimmy Pattison Center for Health. Essentially, that group is a philanthropic fund of $5 million, which is managed by its CEO, Dr. Deanna Taylor. They've grown the fund for some time to help what they call idea holders. And Trish Thorpe, director from Area I, is one of those idea holders, and it's as simple as contacting them and working with them to do anything from a feasibility study, which was the case with Director Thorpe, working in conjunction with BCIT and NVIT to look at cross-training for local emergency services and communities spurred by recent fire losses. So that was good. Pacific Institute for Climate Solutions did a presentation. Sideline takeaway from that was that before development happens municipally, there seems to be decisions made provincially and federally that we are backhandedly made aware of. I think everybody understands that sits at these tables. However, perhaps the community isn't so up on that. For example, there's a 60-acre solar panel program with 39,000 panels that is being looked at south of Logan Lake, as well as a wind farm 14 kilometers northwest of Logan Lake, which is halfway to Ashcroft, selling back to the grid for up to 30 years. So those kind of stats and figures were presented. However, with those kind of developments, they can take 10, 15, 17 years. So when you hear about those kind of developments, or we hear about those kind of developments that are started, perhaps we're not getting the feedback initially that we should be. In conjunction with that, there was another seminar about water use, water conservancy, et cetera, with an interesting side note as far as finding money goes, and that's been a big discussion today. Industrial water charges in British Columbia are the lowest in Canada. Quebec charges 15 times more for industrial water use than we do here, and that puts $75 million annually back into things like dike replacement that didn't happen in Merritt, water for First Nations that is still an issue here. Obviously, it's an issue everywhere, but it's an issue here. So there is a large opportunity to deal with corporations on the water level, industrial use water levels, in order to pay something back into the provincial coffers and then hopefully trickle down to us. We went on from there to 33 resolutions to take to UBCM, but I think it's going to be very difficult even for a group like SOGA to be able to present them because of the time restraints. So that was Wednesday and Thursday in a nutshell. Fantastic job you did. Thank you very much. Put us on the map. And I too got the opportunity to make a bunch of contacts and shake a bunch of hands, and hand out some pins and some business cards, and Revelstoke was extremely welcoming. Next year is Penticton, and if I may, I will do my Friday and Saturday synopsis at our next meeting.
Thank you very much. Just as an aside, one of the tour I took was of the Revelstoke Arts, call it an art center, art gallery is a little bit of a misnomer. There is an art gallery portion where they have rotating displays by mostly local artists. But they also have, and this is where it's kind of a cross between the hub and the, what's it called, the Hive in Salmon Arm that we went to several years ago, where you have pottery studios, you have artist studios that they can rent, you have a maker space, you have a woodworking shop, you have a pottery shop. It's in their former police station, and the cells are still there. They use them for storage. So you slide open the doors, the bars, and one of those still has the metal bench in it. And our guide said that when they bring school kids through, that's the part they love. That's just their favorite part. So I got to make a pair of chopsticks. First time I've handled a bandsaw since Jimmy Carter was probably the president. Guessing. And I still have all my fingertips, so I'm really pleased with myself. But it was an awesome, awesome space. And as with the one in Salmon Arm, I mean, as I said, we're kind of doing that with the hub here, so more power to us. Because I forget how big Revelstoke is. It's 9,000 people. So it's slightly bigger than Meriden, really, in terms of population. So they have abilities. And she also was quite candid for 5 months of the year in which there's not a lot to do. So people are really looking for stuff to do. But I really think that these community spaces, whether it's the hub, whether it's the one in Salmon Arm, whether it's Revelstoke, they are really, really thinking outside the box and doing some really innovative stuff. And again, I think that's something that communities can look at. Because someone who was on the tour said, you know, we've all got a building like it was an old police station. It was just sitting there. What are they going to use it for? She said, we've all got buildings like this. We have one. We have the hub, and now we've got the hub. We had the school, now we have the hub. So I think it's if you get to Revelstoke, I would highly advise going in there, taking a look at it, because you'll get some great ideas. Yeah. You were there, weren't you, Councillor Tedford?
I wasn't on, I went to the library one day.
Oh, I thought you went to that. I thought I saw you at that one.
No, I'm sorry, I wasn't.
The Revelstoke Library tour was awesome as well. So, all right.